the leader of the pack, bringing legacy to you. Legacy, it's true. Stand up, gear up, join the fight. We're as fierce as we can be. With grit and might, we claim the night. We're the legacy. Legacy Club. Legacy Club. Strong and unbreakable. Warriors with fire inside. In our hearts, we're invincible. Legacy Club.
Okay. And we're off. And we're going. We are rocking. We're rolling. And recording. Heck yeah. Little impromptu podcast-a-roo. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Legacy Club podcast. I'm Justin, and this is brought to you by Leal Legacy. What an intro. What an intro. Trying out something a little different, something a little new, something I said that I wasn't going to do, but I'm doing. I swore up and down. I don't think I swore. I swear all the time. I said I wasn't going to do a video element to this podcast anymore because I was lazy. And then I stumbled upon probably like the most aesthetically pleasing yet simple setup ever. And I'm pretty proud of myself, but I shouldn't be proud of myself. I should just be like, oops, happy accident. But I'm going to pretend like this is what was intended all along. And let's just give me that. Please give me that victory. Hello. Hi. That's right. For those of you on the audio only version of this, guess what? There's a video element over on the Legacy Club YouTube channel, aka the Leal Legacy YouTube channel. So go check it out. Go scope it out. I'm pretty pumped about it because, I mean, look at it. This is great. It's so simplistic and it was so easy to set up. Like, I didn't have that kind of feeling of setting this up like I normally have had the last few video recordings for the podcast. But yeah, this is great. This was easy, and I'm stoked. And I like how it looks. I like how it sounds. Well, it kind of always sounds the same way. But all in all, I think it's a win. And this is how it's going to be moving forward. I've said that before. I've said that a lot of times before. I mean it this time, though. Like, cool, right? Right. I'm going to pretend all of you answered and said, yeah, Justin, this is great. This is really cool. And if you don't like it, keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. That's not fair to say. I don't keep anything really to myself. That's not true. If I didn't keep certain things to myself, there'd be a lot more people who didn't like me. Like, a lot more people who didn't like me than the amount of people who already don't like me. Which, I don't know. No, it's kind of it's kind of a decent amount of people who have a distaste for me. It's okay. It's okay. Don't share your political ideas. Don't have a political input, and people will like you more. But you know what? It's a farce. You know, it's a farce. You don't share those things, then you're not really confident in what you're doing or saying, or confident in your beliefs or opinions. So there. Anyhow, that's not what this episode is going to be about. Probably. Maybe. I don't know. It might go that way. It's because this is a good title for this podcast would have been Word Vomit. But I'm sure there's already Word Vomit. There's got to be a podcast out there called Word Vomit. If not, then that's a missed opportunity by me and everyone else doing solo podcasts, like Stream of Consciousness podcast. I really sounded like a robot that just kind of skipped. I'm not a robot, I promise. Not yet. One day. I say that, and I don't know, man. I'd cybernetically enhance myself. I would. I've always kind of wanted to, ever since Star Wars. The first time I saw Luke and his robo hand, I was like, oh, that'd be cool. You could probably punch really hard with that. Break things easily. And then Vader, but I don't want to be set on fire. Is that the only way to do? No, because in the Boba Fett series, we saw that there's like an underground augmentation scene, a body mod scene, but Star Wars body mod, which is not so much tattoo or piercings. It's cybernetically enhancing yourself. What would I cybernetically enhance, though, given the opportunity? I think I would start with my legs. Yeah, I would. I'd start with my legs. It would give me such like an advantage in jiu-jitsu. And, I mean, MMA in general. I do a lot of kicking. I would kick a lot. That's all I would do. If I had cybernetic legs, I would just kick. Because I got a decent choke. So, no, I don't. I really don't have a very good choke. Not yet. Or the people I train with are better than me, which is also the case. Anyhow, hey, I really didn't intend on doing this. I didn't intend on doing a podcast tonight. I was going to do more commentaries. I was going to do some more cartoon commentaries, and I was going to do... I'm expanding the commentaries on the YouTube. I've done things that weren't cartoons previously, but it was never anything like consistent. But it will be. I'm adding. You'll see. Just pay attention to the YouTube. Shout. Who can I shout out? Let me shout out. Let's see. Let's go to YouTube and give this individual the props they deserve. Nuts. Well, I already responded to that comment. Well, dang. Hey, you know who you are. One of our loyal regular viewers was like, hey, man, is it only going to be cartoon commentary, or will there be other things? Have you considered doing commentary to, say, the Three Stooges? And I loved that idea. I loved that idea a lot. So last night I collected, I think, the full catalog, or a full catalog. I don't know. I got a bunch of Three Stooges that I will be doing commentary to. So, hey, you know who you are. I was going to shout you out, but I lost you. Oh, wait, here we go. Comments. Nope, show me all of them. Wow. And I'm not really going to be able to pronounce this. At Raju8037. Was that correct? Did I get that right, or did I butcher that? At RAIJU8037. You, thanks. Thanks for your feedback. We're doing it. I feel good about that now. I really, yeah, cool. I'm glad I found that. Anyhow, response status. What's that? Oh, okay, cool. There we go. Apply. Great. Fantastic. That's going to be hard to do. Pay attention to speaking while fiddling with my computer. But anyway, what up? What would you cybernetically enhance? You out there, tell me what are you going to? I mean, this whole like Neuralink thing is popping off. They have the first they've implanted in the first human being, and all seems to be going well. Now, the fear with Neuralink is, say Elon Musk goes, supervillain. Some might say he is already a supervillain. I don't really think so. But say he does go like straight up supervillain, and he just we all become winter soldiers for Elon Musk. He'd probably call it like X soldiers or something like that because he really likes the X. But is the gamble worth it? Is the gamble of possibly having someone who can hack your mind, is it worth being, is that risk worth being cybernetically enhanced? That's something you got to think about. Because, I mean, the thing is plugged into your brain. So to think that there is no threat of being mentally hijacked is silly, right? It's naive. That's definitely something that can happen. But again, you really got to trust the person that you get the implant from. Now, once Neuralink becomes relatively commonplace, there's going to be competitors. There's going to be other companies that make neural implants to compete with Neuralink. Then you're going to have the knockoff ones that are like the cheapy ones. What's that site called? One of my kids is like obsessed with Temu, where it's just like a bunch of cheap, just a bunch of cheap crap that you can get. I don't know. I try to avoid the hip things with, what generation is that? 14. Is that Gen Z? Gen Z freaks me out. Actually, that's not true. A lot of them seem pretty based. And a lot of them seem to, it's the rebellion thing. It's the fighting back. It's punk rock. That's what it is. Punk rock has taken such a turn. Not so much the rock. Kind of the rock. Punk itself has taken such a wild turn. It used to be like the liberal side of things used to be considered, the punk mentality, but now not so much anymore, in my opinion. And anyone out there with half a brain, I believe shares that opinion too. The conformity factor has really gone above and beyond with all the people who think they are the counterculture. But you can't be counterculture if you are an embodiment of what the culture is. You know what I mean? So your piercings and blue hair and tattoos, like, all of that is so, that's the horde right now. They all look like that. So it's like, I don't know, man. These are the things that I think about. No, I don't really think about it while I'm going to sleep. I listen to podcasts while I'm going to sleep, so I don't really think about much. I just kind of listen and doze off. But isn't that wild? Isn't that crazy? It's more of like the conservative-esque mindset that that's now the counterculture, which ergo is punk. The world's a wacky place, guys. The world is wacky. So smoke your tobacco. Don't do that. Don't smoke. Don't smoke. Don't smoke cigarettes. Cigarettes are terrible. It'd be cool if they weren't, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a shame that they're filled with horrific toxins that shorten your lifespan drastically. Because I'm not saying smoking looks cool, but at the same time, smoking kind of looks cool. You know? I'm not endorsing it, but you know what I mean? Like go back to like the 40s and the 50s. You know, there was all the cool guys that were like smoking a cigarette, flipping a coin in the corner, slicking back their hair. I'm not endorsing smoking cigarettes. I really want to make that clear. I do not encourage anyone to start doing that. But you can't deny that there was a point in history where it looked pretty cool. I saw, what was I watching? I was watching something. It might have been Instagram, actually. I think it was a video on Instagram that popped up, and it was Lucille Ball at Disneyland, and the whole time she was just on the teacups, like spinning around in circles. She was like a tornado of secondhand smoke. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Again, not condoning it. Don't do it. Don't smoke. But she looked pretty cool. I love Lucille Ball. I Love Lucy is like the most aptly named show ever. Because who out there did not love Lucy? Who to this day doesn't love Lucy? That's what I want to know. I don't think anybody. Leave it in the comments. Leave it in the comments if you don't like Lucille Ball. And then I'm going to say, you're wrong. Because honestly, though, like legit. Yeah, and did you know, I'm not a Trekkie. I'm a Star Wars guy. But did you know that Desilu Productions, like, they are kind of responsible for Star Trek being a thing? Like, I may be making this up. I'm not making it up. I know for a fact that Desilu Productions, they were behind Star Trek. And I think at some point, like Star Trek wasn't like the hit it is today. But Lucy was like, no, we're doing this. We're sticking to it. And without Lucille Ball, all you Trekkies would be Star Wars people. Or if you were, you can go, or you'd be the Battlestar Galactica fan. Like, come on. I've never actually tried to watch Battlestar Galactica. I've never cared, you know? Like, in the ranking system, to me, maybe I would like it. I don't know. But in my mind, it's always gone Star Wars, Star Trek, then Battlestar. Only because, really, what else is there? And I'm talking about, like, the timeless franchises. Because, yeah, what was the other one that came out? Firefly was one with Nathan Fillion. But I can't really think I don't know. I'm not a sci-fi nerd. You know what I mean? I'm a Star Wars nerd. Very specifically Star Wars. But I respect Star Trek. I do. I see the value in it. I've enjoyed watching what I have watched. And here's a controversial position, if you will. I can watch like the first generation Star Trek. The next generation, not as big of a fan of. I remember as a child, you know, on the weekends, flipping through the TV channels or whatever, I would settle on Next Generation if there was nothing else on, but I was always kind of like, it always felt kind of soap opera-ish to me. Am I wrong? Not soap opera. That's wrong. That's not correct. But it felt like, I don't know, generic TV drama. But that's kind of rude to say it as well, because it wasn't generic by any stretch of the imagination. But it just felt like I just was disinterested. You know, I was just not into it. The original series, though, I at one point, I don't know if this is still the case, but it was on Netflix at one point, and I tried to trek through it. No one? Okay. I thought about doing a podcast called Keep on Trekking, where I would do watch-alongs to the whole, like, start to finish of all things Star Trek, to, like, teach myself to like it. Never came to fruition, and it won't. Too many other things going on. I found my groove. I found my niche, and Star Trek has no place in it. But really, honestly, right now, I'm not so much into Star Wars anymore either, which is so heartbreaking to say. It's so heartbreaking to say that, because I love Star Wars so much, but the nonsense they're putting out lately has just been to a degree. I really liked the majority of the Disney Plus stuff. The majority of it. I fell off, and I haven't watched Acolyte, because I'm a Sith purist. I when it comes to Star Wars, Sith is my religion, and then Bounty Hunter is my creed. I love bounty hunters, and I love the Sith. Not so much the Empire, oddly enough. A lot of people have the misconception that if you are a dark side fan, you ergo are a fan of the Empire, and that's just not true. I don't agree with their politics. And that's why I say politically, the creed, politically, I guess politically would have been more of a more accurate thing to say, where, you know, my religion is Sith, my political views are that of a bounty hunter in the Star Wars universe. Which, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. I was going to compare the Empire to, like, conservatives, but you know what? That's actually kind of like that's a reflection of today, right? Because the rebels, arguably, in the original trilogy, the rebels were kind of punk, right? They were anti-establishment. They were going against the man. They were, you know, they wouldn't conform to the heavy-handed stances of the Empire. And yeah, it makes sense. The rebels used to be punk. And then the Empire fell. And then the Republic they became just as bad. They became everything that they hated, you know? And I really think the Mandalorian series was a good reflection of that, to a degree. Anyway, am I making any sense to anyone? This is what I'm saying. This is just stream of consciousness word vomit. And I'm okay with it. I hope you're okay with it too. Keep coming back to listen. It'll get good. Maybe someday. But really though, the rebels used to be punk, and then the fall of the Empire. And you know, we need series like The Mandalorian. We need content that falls in between the fall of the Empire and the rise of the First Order. That chunk of time in between is valuable to see the progression of the way of the galaxy. Yeah. But I'm not going to watch Acolyte. I'm just not going to do it. I don't know. I'm not like protesting it. I don't have a stance against it. I just don't care. You know what I mean? Like, it just, when I saw the first trailer, and I got a lot of flack for this too on X, formerly known as Twitter. I got a lot of flack for saying that I've always wanted a Sith-focused story cinematically, because there's a lot of Sith-centric stories in like the comics and the books, things of that nature, that, you know, when Disney acquired Star Wars, it all became Star Wars Legends, and that's fine. I get it. I get that all the like the Dark Horse comics and all the books and everything like that, there needed to be some cohesion to it. Is cohesion a word? It is now. You know what it means. It needed to make sense. It needed to be packed together to make sense to the greater narrative. There's some good stuff in there, though, man. There's some good stuff that they just kind of like cast aside. And you know what? Had they stuck to the content in the books and the content in the comics, had they stuck to it, we wouldn't have gotten that train wreck that was the sequel trilogy. Because yes, the sequel trilogy is a train wreck. It is just a jumbled mess of nothingness that had so much potential. So much potential. And you know what? Nobody disagrees. When I get into it, when I go deep into like why the sequel trilogy sucked so bad, nobody disagrees with me. You're going to have those people that like, you know, they're contrarians for the sake of being a contrarian, but follow me here. And I've talked about this ad nauseum, but hopefully like there's new listeners, there's people new to the podcast that haven't heard me rant about this before. But even if you have heard me rant about this before, follow me again. Follow me again if you need more convincing. The Force Awakens, okay? People say The Force Awakens, people complain about The Force Awakens because it's just a reiteration. They say it's like just a recycled plot line of A New Hope, which my argument to that is, like, what? How different can you expect it to be? They're like, ooh, Starkiller Base was just another Death Star. Kylo Ren was like a knockout Vader. Okay, guys, pay attention. Pay attention. What are you going to do in space? What are you going to do if you're trying to be a galactic empire? You're going to build giant space stations to control the galaxy. The Death Star was a good idea. A battle station that was essentially, that was the size of a moon. You know? Like, it's not a ripoff them doing an even bigger battle station in The Force Awakens. It's just, it's kind of like complaining about the next model of like a car or a plane or a ship, or, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going back and reinventing the wheel. They're just building upon it. They're evolving from the basics. So anybody who has issue with, Star Killer Base is just another Death Star, it's just they don't have any original idea. It's of course that's what it's going to be. How else do you control a galaxy if you're not an ever-present floating entity that can travel around the galaxy? You know what I mean? Like, you're not just going to hold up on a planet and try to control, like, a planet light years away. That just doesn't... No. That's silly. That's a silly thing to complain about. My complaints are real. Okay, so we get Rey, and we don't know who she is, and then we start to discover that she's got some, like, force abilities. There's Anakin's lightsaber calls out to her, and she hears all, like, the disembodied voices of Jedi of the past calling her, like, Rey, 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 Rey. I haven't seen it in a while, so this is just kind of all based on memory. I was okay with all of that. I liked where it was headed. I walked out of Force Awakens going like, cool. This is a cool new beginning. And then, and here's a big flaw here. Here's a big flaw. They didn't write all 3 movies. They didn't do all 3 acts before shooting. So they wrote the first movie while dabbling in the second movie with a different director. And then the third movie was just not even a thought, apparently, seemingly so. But when you're using different directors and the idea is to use different directors and writers and stuff, it's just like, yeah, you can't plan for the future. You know what I mean? Because you're going to deal with ego. I got to clear my throat. Hold on. Thank you. Yes, such a flaw in the production process of that. George Lucas wrote A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. Like, he knew where it was going. He was doing this because it was going to pay off here. He did that because it was going to pay off there. And it just was... Everything fits together in the original trilogy. And even in the prequels, because the guy in charge knew what he was doing. He had long-term vision and could plan for payoffs. Now, when you're using different people, and you know, they did use different directors, I believe, in the original trilogy, but the material was already done. It was already a thing. They're already, you know, George Lucas oversaw the whole thing, and he's like, no, we can't do that because it's going wrong in here. But once he, you know, stepped out of the picture, then it was just all chaos. It was all money grab. So Force Awakens cool, okay? Then, what was the second one? I went Force Awakens. What was the second one called? Why am I blanking on this? The Rise of Skywalker was the last one. What was the second one called? Oh my god. This is embarrassing, guys. But is it really though? Is it really? Let's see. Star Rise of the Jedi? No. Right? Hold on. Wars films. Here we go. It was Force Awakens. Wait, how are they doing this? Oh, this is not in order at all. Hold on. This is dumb. Why is nothing as it should be? Oh wow, forgot about that one. Sorry, was that in your ears? I apologize. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. Okay, New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, The Last Jedi. What a interesting name that could have been, but ultimately, how dumb. The Last Jedi. Is that supposed to be Luke? Was Luke the Last Jedi? Is that why they called it that? What a disappointment Luke Skywalker turned out to be. And what a disappointment Mark Hamill is. Talk about people not liking you for your politics. I just like don't like Mark Hamill like at all anymore. Anyhow, so in The Last Jedi, here we go. In The Last Jedi, we're reintroduced to Luke Skywalker, who's a crotchety old man. Whatever. I would have preferred him to have more of like a Yoda kind of demeanor, but I get it. He started his Jedi school. It failed. He had a moment of weakness, and in that moment of weakness was when he was going to cut down a sleeping Ben Solo. How cool would it have been if he went dark? You know what I mean? Or he went to the island by himself because he was going dark. Like honestly, Luke Skywalker, it would have been really cool to see him turn out to be the threat that Rey had to redeem. But then you're going to have people going like, oh, he's just a knockoff Darth Vader. It's just the Darth Vader story again. Maybe, but I don't know. It wasn't a bad story, And his father fell to the dark side, so maybe inherently it could be a thing that they're susceptible to because the Skywalker lineage is so like in tune with the Force, and so you know what I mean? Because Luke arguably was a natural when it came to using the Force. He became a Jedi Master in like the shortest amount of time ever. So it would have been like a really cool kind of like underlining theme where it's like people who are just that powerful with the Force inevitably turn dark. Like there's no avoidance there. Like the temptation might be too great, or I don't know, what have you. But I'm going off track. So Rey goes to not good Yoda and discovers that when she falls into that pit where again, here we go. Let's talk about knockoffs. In Empire Strikes Back, Luke goes and that's an Empire. Empire Strikes Back, Luke goes into that like dark foresty place where he's confronted by like this vision of Vader, and he chops Vader's head off, and it turns out under the mask it's Luke. And that would have been a really cool foreshadowing thing too. Like, yeah, Luke, you're inevitably going to go dark. But Rey had to have a similar, experience where she went into that like abyss, that pit of seaweed. That's what I thought when I saw it. I was like, that's just a hole covered in seaweed, which is gross. I hate seaweed. I grew up on the beach, and I don't know, man. It was just like, it might just be me, It could just be me. I can't really just be the only one. But there is no feeling more gruesome to me than going into the ocean on like a heavy seaweed day and just like you're going through and it's like sticking to you and it just bugs me out, man. And it's not necessarily like the big beds of kelp that are just floating in there. And like sometimes if you're surfing, you like bail and pop up and you just come up in this like, briar patch of seaweed. It was the little strands. It was the strands and like the little pieces that would just like stick to you that just, not cool. Not cool. We were at the beach one time, and this was like quite some time ago. Bane was 1, Elvis was 5, I think, and we went to the beach, and it was there was a decent amount of seaweed in the ocean, and Elvis just went in. He just went in the water, and I was kind of like doing that like tiptoe kind of thing, trying to like dodge stepping into seaweed, and Elvis just like, Dad, get over it. My 5-year-old experienced some real disappointment in me that day. But I digress. Yeah, that hole covered in seaweed was just like, ugh. But she went in it. Ray went in it, and she had her vision quest sort of thing where she was always trying to solve the mystery of where she came from and who her parents were. And there was that point where she saw these blurred silhouettes in this kind of like thing. And she walked up closer to it, and the closer she got to it, it became one person and it became her. And she just saw it was just a reflection of her, which morphed into a lot of her. And, she did that snap thing, which went, and I was just kind of like, interesting. Now, this is a really cool development if the payoff was that she had no parents because she was a clone. And then that whole line of like the infinite, amount of herself was an example of she was just one of many. She was one of many clones. Makes sense to me. Kind of a big thing in Star Wars, past and present, is cloning. Like they still played the cloning game into the sequel trilogy, and The Mandalorian furthered that whole like idea of cloning technology being like the epitome of technology. You know what I mean? I mean, even into Bad Batch, where what's her name? Alpha or something? I don't remember anymore. I gotta go back and watch Bad Batch again. But she was a clone as well. Boba Fett's a clone. Like, everybody's a clone. So not everybody, but a lot of people are clones. I mean, the whole Stormtrooper army were all clones of Boba Fett or Jango Fett. Which, I mean, if they're a clone of Jango Fett, Boba Fett's a clone of Jango. You know what I mean? Anyhow. But no, they decided not to stick with that. And had they made her a clone of Anakin, because what a disappointment Anakin turned out to be. Palpatine wanted Anakin to be his apprentice because he was like, this is the most powerful Force user like I've ever come in contact with, besides myself. And then Palpatine gets Anakin as an apprentice, and then like immediately after, Anakin gets hacked to bits and burned alive and becomes Frankenstein, essentially, like Frankenstein's monster. He's big. He's kind of like heavy. He can't do all those cool backflippy moves anymore. Real cumbersome. Strong, powerful, still, very, very powerful force user. But, a big thing of what we saw when it came to Jedi and stuff, and even, not really a lot of Sith. There weren't really, you don't really see a lot of agile Sith. Darth Maul was an agile Sith. Asajj Ventress was pretty agile. But beyond that, I can't really think of any dark side characters that were, as limber as, all the Jedi were. Anakin included. If you watch the Clone Wars series, Anakin, the Clone Wars Anakin is like the Anakin of legend. It wasn't the Anakin we got in the prequels. I mean, he did do some acrobatic-y kind of stuff, but it was in the animated series that you really got a taste of you get a taste of what Palpatine saw in Anakin and why he wanted him as an apprentice above the rest. He really could have picked anybody and tried to seduce anyone into the dark side, but he had his sights set on the Skywalker. So when you get your optimal apprentice, and then it's immediate, the rug is immediately pulled out from underneath you because now it's not the same. He's not the same person that you originally set your sights on. I could imagine that Palpatine would have wanted to recreate the Anakin that was, and not the Anakin that he had in Darth Vader. You know what I mean? He still hung on to Darth Vader because there was a value to him. He was still powerful. He was still, what's the word I'm looking for? He was still, foreboding. No, that's not the one I wanted. He was still, there's still a lot of power there to hold on to as an apprentice. It was still the best apprentice he could have, essentially. Especially because he wiped out all the other Jedi. Theoretically, he was like, well, I've killed all the Jedi. I'm left with this guy. I guess I'm going to hold on to him, but I'm going to figure out a way to get back what I had lost. So why wouldn't he naturally just start trying to clone Anakin into the Anakin that he originally wanted? And Rey happens to be one of those clones. Made sense to me. That's why Anakin's lightsaber was calling out to her. And that was kind of funny to me at the end of Force Awakens, where she has Anakin's lightsaber and she goes and she tries to hand it to Luke. And it's that wasn't his lightsaber. You know what I mean? Why are you giving it back to him? I guess it was because it was his dad's, I guess. And he just chucks it. That was a disappointing turn of events. But yeah, that all made sense to me. And then when you go into the next film and it's called The Rise of Skywalker, if Rey was genetically actually a Skywalker instead of Palpatine's granddaughter, and that's a big thing too, which just it kind of put a distaste. It soured my taste for Palpatine, because that means Palpatine reproduced at some point. Are we all under the impression that that's what that means? If that's his granddaughter, Palpatine has a child. To have a child, Palpatine had to have procreated with someone. Someone out there had a child with Palpatine. And then are we to believe that that child of Palpatine's was conceived when? When he was an old man in the prequel trilogy? Well, he already could have been a grandfather in the original in the prequel trilogy. So who's getting romantic with that old guy to have a baby? You know what I mean? Like, in the real world, you're 35 and you're pregnant, you're a geriatric pregnancy. That's what it is. So Palpatine was arguably well past 35 in the prequel trilogy. So what was he doing? Cradle robbing? I guess that's not crazy to think. Like, in reality, we have women out there who will, date decades. There'll be decade long gaps between like couples at times, which I guess is not, Mick Jagger, somebody who just had a kid. Robert De Niro just had a kid recently. Al Pacino, one of those old guys. I think there's kind of like several really old dudes who have had babies within like recent history. And it's just like, okay, now I'm kind of getting it, but gross. And I kind of always thought, like, as a Sith Lord, that sort of thing never really appeals to you. It doesn't appeal to you anymore. Your focus is power. I don't know, man. I don't know. So somebody got freaky with Palpatine, had a baby. That baby had another baby, which was Rey. I really I prefer the storyline of Palpatine's trying to recreate the apprentice that he wanted, but that was taken from him, using Skywalker DNA. And then we get the whole, like, from the original trilogy, it was a Skywalker that seemingly took Palpatine out. And then we're just going to get that whole thing again, which is destiny. A Skywalker, or specifically Anakin, maybe not in Anakin form, but a clone of Anakin, is still the one to take out Palpatine and bring balance back to the Force. It wasn't Luke. It always had to be Anakin. But no, I guess it didn't always have to be Anakin. And that was that whole thing of Obi-Wan too in Revenge of the Sith, where he was like, you were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join it, or something like that, whatever the line is. If he was always destined to destroy the Sith, and then in Return of the Jedi, we seemingly get that story where he throws Palpatine into like the power reactor or whatever of the Death Star 2, and brings balance to the Force by taking out the ultimate Sith Lord. And Palpatine was the ultimate Sith. The rule of two. There can only be two. There's a master to hold the power and an apprentice to crave it or, whatever, envy it or chase it. So by destroying Palpatine and Vader dying, the Sith is theoretically no more. And that really could have just been a fulfillment of the prophecy even into the sequel trilogy, where if Rey was a Skywalker specifically made of Anakin's DNA, it's still Anakin per se, depending on your understanding of cloning. It just would have made way more sense. Instead of her being a Palpatine And then at the end of the movie where she says her name is Rey Skywalker, it's like, no, you're not a Skywalker. You're not. And then you see like Force ghosts of Leia and Luke as if they were like, there was some sort of kind of wink or nod of like they were her like adoptive parents. So it's like, no, man, the brother and sister, stop pairing them in a weird way. But anyhow, I don't know how or why I just spiraled into that, but I'm not wrong. It would have been everything would have made way more sense, and it would have been way more satisfying as if that was the idea put into place going into the production of the sequel trilogy, instead of like, who was it, J.J. Abrams and what's the other guy's name? The other director, the guy that directed like the one in the middle. Like, was it J.J. Abrams? Yeah, it was. Right. I'm so foggy right now. I'm tired, man. J.J. Abrams. Rian Johnson. That was the guy who did The Last Jedi. And then J.J. Abrams came back for the last one. But then you're looking at the writers, too. Writers of Force Awakens. J.J. Abrams, Lawrence Kasdan, and then Michael Ardent. Okay, those are the writers. Great. J.J. Abrams directed. And then you get director and writer Rian Johnson just did all of it. And then the third movie is directed by J.J. Abrams, and then writers being Chris Terrio and J.J. Abrams. And then what? There's more? So essentially, J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson are like the writers. And then apparently they didn't sync up. They didn't really get along. They kind of had pissing contests between the two of them, which made for movies that didn't sync well together. The end. I don't know, man. It was very disappointing. And then, you can really tell that like a lot of these Disney series are them backtracking, like, how do we make all of this make sense? We have these movies, we have this Skywalker saga that really falls apart in the last two movies. How do we redeem this? And you get bits and pieces all over the place. And then that brings me back to Acolyte. Acolyte is supposed to be like however many centuries before the events in like the prequel trilogies and stuff. And it just bums me out. It bums me out because had they stuck to content that was already put into place, aka the Darth Bane series, that's the Darth Bane series. That's the rise of the Sith that we needed. Not whatever Acolyte is. And I know I'm speaking kind of just like out of turn as somebody who didn't watch the series. It's like, how can you say it's not good without ever watching it? And yes, I am definitely a firm believer of like, you can't really develop an opinion about something unless you experience that thing for yourself. And I know it's kind of hypocritical of me to say, but when I watched the first trailer for Acolyte, and it really just looked like a Star Wars kind of like slasher film, where it's a group of Jedi, but there's this mysterious menace killing Jedi, and they gotta it's just no thank you. No thank you. I want a very Sith focused series. in a Darth Bane series would be that. Give us the Rule of Two series. My friend JB of Talk Nerdy to Me, he is currently in the man, he's just getting started. He hit me up on Instagram one day and he's just like, you know what, I'm gonna dive into Darth Bane. Like he's in an audiobook mode. And he's like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna listen to it. And then he hit me up sometime later and he's just like, dude, I am enthralled with this series so far, this first book. And I'm just like, homie, it gets even better in the next two. And I'm really excited for him to press on with it. He got me so hyped on it that I'm listening to the Darth Bane series again. And I mean, for those of you who don't know, I named my son Bane. One of my sons, one of my thousands of sons, I've named Bane after Darth Bane and Cad Bane, bringing my Sith and bounty hunter love together. Because Darth Bane is the father of the Rule of Two. He is the pioneer of the Sith, the understanding of the Sith that we got in the Star Wars that we've been giving in the movies and such. And then Cad Bane is arguably one of, if not the coolest bounty hunter that's ever been. That's big. That's big talk for me because I'm a big fan of bounty hunters and I'm a big fan of Boba Fett. But despite what the Boba Fett series, how that worked out, Cad Bane is like the bounty hunter. And I wish we got more of the relationship prior to their reunion in the Boba Fett series. Like there's a history between Boba Fett and Cad Bane that we've never really truly have gotten in any of the other Star Wars content out there. And I'm so curious, like I want to see their history together. But anyway, do yourself a favor. Watch the Clone Wars series, because that's when we're introduced to Cad Bane. And I mean, he's an alien outlaw. He's an alien cowboy. He's like Clint Eastwood. Like the Clint Eastwood we get in like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, like all those, rad westerns. But he's a Star Wars, he's an alien. Super cool. Anyhow, I don't even know why I dove so deeply into that for the 1,000th time. I wonder how many different episodes of podcasts I've gone into that rant. But if it was your first time hearing that, let me know what you think. Anytime that like I get into Star Wars debates online and I start chucking out like that whole concept, there aren't a lot of people who disagree with me. And that's, that's why I say I have my black belt in Star Wars. I've got my black belt in Star Wars, and it's just like Disney's really mucking that up for me. I really hope that we get back to a point where good storytelling is the prime focus of everything. Because for an empire that I love so much, Disney, they've really kind of stabbed me in the back. I take it very personally. They've really slapped me in the face with oh man, what's the word I'm looking for? Acquiring. There we go. They acquired my two other very passionate fandoms, Marvel and Star Wars, and they started out strong with them and then inevitably like stopped caring. They started trying to appease people who weren't OG fans. they started trying to appease the casuals. And once you start trying to appease casuals, you lose it. You lose everything that made the you start to lose what made it great in the first place, if that makes sense. Never try to appease a casual. I like the term casual because it's not it's so politely demeaning. Like in MMA, if you're an MMA casual, that just means like, the fighters are Conor McGregor. And that's about it. And you don't really understand the sport. You don't understand you don't have a grasp on the intricacies of what makes like MMA. You lack the understanding of the intricacies that makes the sport so incredible. And then that's then you get your Marvel casuals through the Disney acquisition that they're people who jumped on, appreciating the characters and the stories midway through the Infinity Saga. Or you get the people who jumped into Star Wars, who became like just out of the blue Star Wars fans in the midst of like, they just wanted to be part of the hype, I guess. And I don't know. I guess it comes off very gatekeeper-y, gatekeeper-ish, gatekeeper-esque. But I'm okay with that. I'm a gatekeeper. I don't find that to be. There needs to be gatekeepers. There needs to be gatekeepers for fandoms and such that stand firm in like, look, I get that you like it, but I don't think content should be made to appease you. The content should be made to not really appease anybody per se, but like it just should be made to be great. And striving for greatness seems to be passé these days. And it's such a bummer. Because when you stop striving to be great, it's hollow. Everything becomes hollow. And once things become hollow, everything sucks. You know what I mean? Like once you take the soul out of things, it's just a husk of what it once was. And it's disappointing in nature. Yeah. What a bummer. Bring back passion. Bring back heart. Bring back a quest for greatness. Why is that? Why is that the thing? Like that just goes beyond fandoms, and it's just such a reflection of the times now, where no one's trying to do great things anymore. In the content creator space, it's like you just have a bunch of people parroting and mimicking things they've already seen done before, and it's just clout chasing, or it's just attention seeking, or it's conformity. People are just doing what they think others want to see, instead of striving to do something that's unique or something original, and I say all these things, but it's like I don't think I'm super original necessarily. I'm a person that just grabs on to what I'm passionate about and the things that I love, and I don't know, I like to play around and, create my own adaptations of the things that have inspired me throughout my life. And that could be seen, I guess, as mimicry. Is that a word? You know what I mean. I know you know what I mean. But even then, though, I think I don't know, man. I try to be original to a degree, I guess, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe I need to be more original. Maybe I need to step further outside the box. But it also seems like in today's day and age, you step too far out of the box, you become a pariah. Stepping out of the box is a real good way to get people to turn on you. But the boxes now are so big, it's hard to step out of, because it's just like, what hasn't been done? You know what I mean? Like, everything just kind of feels like an adaptation of something else. Like music. You know what I mean? Like, music kind of stopped being wow. Like, whoa, what is this? This is new. This is different. This is cool. Like the jump from like the music of the 50s to the music of like the 60s was such a leap. And even into the 70s felt like another leap. The 80s felt like another leap. Even into the 90s felt like another leap of just like new, innovative things that haven't been done before. Like, you think about rap and hip hop, that's not incredibly old. I mean, maybe it is. The end of the 70s, early 80s, 90s, like, yeah, that's 50, 40, 30 years old than there. I guess, I don't know, I guess the older one gets, you learn, I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm trying to say with all that. Reality lacks originality. We live in a time where reality lacks originality. And how do we come back from that? How does one find a way to be original in an era where seemingly everything has already been done? And then that goes back to the whole Star Wars thing. With the whole sequel trilogy, it's just like, oh, like Force Awakens, it's just a rehashing of A New Hope. We're just getting what's already been done. And I kind of now I'm walking myself backwards with that, because I was saying like, well, how different could it be? Like, of course there's going to be another big space station, because that's just that's what else would you do in space to control the galaxy? That's not building a giant space station. But now I'm saying everything's already been done, so everything new is going to have very obvious inspiration pulled from what once was. You know? And I'm guilty of it, for sure. I'm not trying to separate myself from, being, I'm definitely not original. Not as original as I'm demanding the world to be. It's hard to find that, though. It's hard to find originality now. Like, creating something or doing something that's never been done before. Like skateboarding. skateboarding at the end of the 70s was like this new thing, this whoa, and then like the evolution of that. You know, skateboarding, like I wonder how many people out there who aren't in tuned with skate culture. I wonder how many people understand that it's like it's not that old. Like the guys that created skateboarding as we know it are all still alive. And not only are they all still alive, they're not old. Like they're all still doing it. Like we don't have anybody in their 80s who were like skateboarding pioneers, because it just skateboarding doesn't date that far back. Like Tony Hawk's what, 50s, mid to late 50s, and he created a lot. But you know who like Tony Hawk is like the face, like the poster child of pop culture, like skateboarding in pop culture. But it was Rodney Mullen. Rodney Mullen is the guy who developed everything you see today, or anything you see today that is new stems from the basics that he developed. Like the flat ground ollie, the ollie that you see, like when you think of the term ollie, even if you have just kind of like a cursory understanding of skateboarding, he was the one who did that. He didn't invent the ollie. The ollie was invented, you know, in the bowls and like in the ramp world. But when it comes to street skating, flat ground, because like when you think when casuals, again, when casuals think skateboarding, Tony Hawk comes to mind. Maybe you think vert ramps, but you really kind of think mostly like flat ground, ollieing downstairs, hitting rails, doing flip tricks. All of that mostly can be traced back to Rodney Mullen, who is still an active skater. Like he's not an old timer. He's not an old man. Like he's still doing it. You know, he developed the flat ground ollie. He did the kick flip. He did, you know, I mean, the list really goes on and on and on and on. And I say the list goes on and on and on because I'm blanking on just like, I don't want to attribute specific other tricks to him that he may not have invented. But even the tricks that he didn't invent, if you start the trick with an ollie, you are doing a trick that can be traced back to him. Because without the ollie, if you're doing flat ground flip tricks that are all comprised, that all of those flat ground flip tricks, they start with popping into the air with an ollie, that goes back to Rodney Mullen. And the idea of flipping the board from the ollie, aka the kick flip, the heel flip, 360 flip, all of that is traced back directly to him. Another guy in his 50s. So I don't know where that tangent of skateboarding came from, but I don't know. It made sense when I started, but here we are at the end of it, and I don't know why. I don't know why that was a path I went down. I love skateboarding though. I need to do more of it. I'm so scared to do anything anymore though, because I have torn meniscus in my right knee, and let me tell you, if you have a knee injury, and a knee injury that causes your knee to slide out of place at any given time, you become so hesitant at wanting to I mean, let alone try something new. You're hesitant to do the things you used to be able to do. Like I have been out of training jiu-jitsu for like a saddening amount of time, because I love jiu-jitsu. I love MMA. I love combat sport. I love that being my outlet of like exercise and just, you know what I mean? But I suffered a series of injuries, like one right after another, and I've been so hesitant to like get back on the mats. It's such a bummer. It all started when I was coaching, helping. I'm an assistant coach. I'm not the coach. I was, but I was coaching. I was there. I think it was in the kids boxing class, and my coach, Sugar Sean Allen, shout out. He was like using me to like demonstrate something for like a kid that we were working with, and my knee slid out of place, and I hit the ground, and I was like, oh God. And it was something like, it was inevitable. I had expected it to happen at some point, and I was kind of shocked that I had gone through so much training that, and it hadn't happened yet. And I was like, okay, cool. But like, I've sprained my foot. I've done something to my hand. Look at that bump. You can see it in the video. Look. So this is what my normal thumb looks like. And then look at my left hand. See that bump right there? What is that? Like, I can still use my thumb. Like, it's not like, you know, completely, there's damage there, but I'm not understanding what it is. It definitely is some sort of joint that is not where it should be, and I kind of I pull on it, like I can feel it kind of like start sliding back into place. It used to look a lot worse, but so my knee slid out, and then I started wearing a knee brace, and that remedied that. And then one day, this happened to my hand, and then that took me out of it for a little bit. And then as soon as I regained like my confidence to get back on the mats and start rolling again, I like break my toe. Like my big toe, it's all the, well, it's not all the ones. My recent injuries are all on the left side of my body. Whatever this is to my thumb, and then my broken toe was on my left foot, big toe. And look, if you've never had a broken toe before, it sounds like such a like minor injury, like such a minuscule like thing to deal with, but no, dude, no. no, and especially when you have kids, especially when you have boys who want to just like constantly engage in some sort of like physical altercation with you, like the amount of times that they've stepped on my toe, they've kicked it, or I've been doing something with them and like kicked a toy or a piece of furniture or something inadvertently, and it's just like the shot of pain that radiates through your body on just like such a small piece of your body. But yeah, so after my thumb doing this thing and the broken toe, like I actually haven't been back to class since breaking my toe. But then that's tied into like this summer. This summer has been a catastrophe for my family. Like, we have been sick multiple times. And when I say sick, it's like we weren't like hospitalized for illness or anything like that. But given that there's so many of us in my family, it's just, you know, once an illness cycles through the whole family, it's been like 4 weeks. You know what I mean? Because like a cold will last a week and a half, maybe like a bad cold will last a week and a half, and a cold that should only last a week or like half a week is prolonged because when you got these many kids, especially young kids, you're not sleeping as much as you should and resting as much as you should. Maybe you're not eating the right way all the time. So it's just like it exacerbates the problem and prolongs the illness. So, like my wife gets sick. So a kid will get sick, then another kid will get sick, my wife and I will get sick, then the other two kids will get sick, and by the time it jumps from all 6 of us, that's like a month and a half later. And when you haven't personally been sick yourself for like a month of that time, then you're susceptible to like the same cold hitting you again, because it's transferred from like it starts with the 2-year-old or the 3-year-old, and then it ends with the 8-year-old, and by the time the 8-year-old is coming off of it, you caught it again from the 8-year-old. And it's just like the cycle that is so devastating. It wiped us out all summer. So with the illnesses and the injuries, like I have been so desperate to get back on the mats, but at the same time, I haven't physically been able to. And like the gym we train at Nashville MMA, and I'm sure there's a lot of people, like everybody speaks so highly of wherever they train at, but no joke, dude, Nashville MMA, like that's a place where killers are developed. So it's like the people you're training with are, top notch in the city. And it's just like with a broken toe and a messed up hand and a bad knee coming off an illness, like it's hard to find the confidence to go square up with people. And am I just making excuses? Maybe I'm just making excuses, but I don't feel like I'm making excuses, because it's just like, look, my hand is still, like, what is that? Like, it still hurts from time to time. Like, that looks like visually some serious, something that should not be. But it's not worth, like, it's still completely fine. And then my wife's uncle is a retired doctor, and we were down at her grandmother's house on Mother's Day, and he was like poking at it and like pinching at it, and he's like, does this hurt? Does that hurt? And he's like, yeah, you did something bad to it, but it's not like go to the hospital bad. You know what I mean? So, months and months later, it's still visibly an issue, but functional. So but there's also a black belt that, assists in the classes I go to, and he has a similar thing going on with his thumb too. And he's just like, this happened in a competition. I'm like, dude, that's what my hand looks like now. So if he's functioning just fine with it, I think I can too. It's just I got to regain that confidence, because I'm so hesitant to so after I busted my hand up, I went back. And that day that I broke my toe, I went at it pretty decently. But at the end of the class, I was with another white belt, and homie didn't want to flow roll. He just went at it, and there we go. There goes my toe. So my knee, my toe, my hand, I'm stepping onto the mats with don't touch me. I don't need any other injuries at the moment. So leave me alone. I don't know, man. I'm just kind of spiraling at the moment. It's 1 o'clock, and it's past 1 o'clock in the morning now. I'm tired. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm not getting the sleep I need, because the only time I'm able to podcast is way late into the night. My kids get me up fairly early in the morning. Life, man. Life. It's full of obstacles. Could be worse. It's not terrible, but makes for valid excuses. So help me by going to leallegacy.com and scoping out all the other content we have available for you, including our web store. This is what I do now. This is my full-time gig now. I don't do anything else. I mean, I do some other stuff, but I don't have, like, this is my career focus now. It's always been something I did along with doing something else as a full-time gig. This is my full-time gig now. So show your support. I would greatly appreciate it if you went, picked yourself up something nice from our store, Legacy Club, Clo.com. The Clo stands for clothing. There's also a link at leallegacy.com. Just go click on the Legacy Store tab or banner, or I don't know. You'll see it. It's very obvious. Go there, check out our shop, pick yourself up something nice. Maybe if you don't like it, you'll see something that somebody you like might like. So get that for them. If you don't want to spend your hard-earned cash, I understand. You got bills to pay. You got mouths to feed. You got to go buy groceries. You got to buy gas. You know what's free? Watching our YouTube videos. Go watch our YouTube videos. Help us earn some revenue on the YouTubes. I very recently have listened to my wife and have chopped up all the content I was focusing into the Leal Legacy YouTube channel, and now we have multiple channels. So the Leal Legacy channel is now the Legacy Club channel, which I might throw Leal Legacy back into the title somehow. But if you just type in Leal Legacy, you'll see all of our channels. We've got the commentary channel, which is where this podcast goes, and the cartoon commentaries, and just the commentaries for everything else, because we're branching out beyond cartoons. And then we have when I was doing like the POV, like rides at the Disney parks and stuff like that, that's no longer on the Leal Legacy or the Legacy Club YouTube. That's its own channel, and that's called Legacy View. So go to the Leal Legacy View channel, subscribe, watch our stuff there. We also have a music channel, Leal Legacy Music. Go listen to the music being created there. You know, you need a playlist of just fun songs to listen to? Well, there you go. We got you covered. Leal Legacy Gaming. Show your support. Baney Boy. That's Bane's channel. My son Bane. His channel, he is an adamant gamer. Like, that is what he does. He's good at it. He has fun doing it. He's started doing live streams. So go scope out his past live streams, subscribe, hit the notification bell. So anytime he goes and starts doing a live stream, you'll be notified and you can watch along. He is hilarious. He's unintentionally hilarious, which I love so much. It's really fun to watch him play. So we got Leal Legacy Gaming, and then we have a Disney trip planned for next week where we will be collecting content for our family vlog channel called Legacy of Leal. You know, Leal and Legacy, it just plays into all of it. So Legacy of Leal will be launching shortly. We already have the YouTube for it and all that jazz. We're just, we're kicking off the content creation for that channel next week with a family trip down to Disney World. So look for that. Subscribe to that. There you go. It's just so much going on. We got the Legacy Club. We got Legacy Club clothing, our web store, Leal Legacy View, Leal Legacy Gaming, Leal Legacy Music, Legacy of Leal. We've got 6 outlets for you to show some support. So I implore you, please do. I would greatly appreciate it. It would make this, a thing that could be expand upon even further. Hopefully you enjoy the content. If you don't, tell me what I could do better to help you enjoy it more. What else? I think that's about it. Yeah. Subscribe, all across your favorite podcast platforms to this podcast. Social media, all your favorite social media outlets, it's at Leal Legacy. Everything is at Leal Legacy. You can find everything else through just Leal Legacy. LealLegacy.com. Find everything. Social media at Leal Legacy. Voila. That's that. That's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I'm going to keep doing this video element to this now that I got such a easy, like, effortless setup. Yeah. As always, thanks for being a friend, telling a friend. Until next time. See ya.